I was here a few minutes later than I planned to be. I'm kind of a late person. I don't know if anyone can relate to this. Everyone's stonewall. They're like, yeah, we've been waiting for you. And it's not because I like think my time is more important than anybody else's or like whatever. It's just like I'm a time optimist. You know, like I'm just like, how long does it take to get downtown? 3 minutes? How long does it take me to get ready? Like that, right? And my boyfriend's out of town, so there's no man in the audience to contradict me with his eyes. And that's me, like, before I leave the house, right? Like, I'm like, I'll be there, like, immediately, basically. And then when I'm driving, I'm like, if you're gonna merge! I'm late! I show up, I'm like, there was traffic. In Los Angeles, no one ever talks about it, but it's here. I'm so annoying. I'm doing this like really cute, quirky thing this summer where I'm like trying to pay down some of my debt. I think I'm gonna continue this like cute little behavior into like fall and winter and probably spring and probably next summer. You know, if we're just being honest with ourselves, it's gonna be an eternal cycle of being adorable. And I started selling my clothes online because I thought maybe that would be a good way to do it, but no one wants my clothes. So now I'm still broke, but also my feelings are hurt. It's the worst of all possible worlds. I'm like the Fantine of Valley Village. And Fantine was a character in Les Mis, book, musical, however you go. Movie, if you must. Fantine was a character in Les Mis who like first she sold a necklace to take care of her child, and then she sold her hair, and then eventually she sold her body. And like, her child's name was Cosette. My child's name is American Express. But I would like never ever sell my hair, truly. And that's because Locks of Love has made it really uncool to not just like donate, you know? Like they're like, don't you want to give that hair to someone with cancer? And I'm like, my APR is through the roof, I'm barely surviving out here. Right? It's like, it's through the roof of a place I cannot afford to own. I am renting. I'm not getting this deposit back now that I have a huge hole in the roof. It's fun. It's fun. We're having a good time. This is kind of thematic, right? We're continuing the theme of we're in trouble. Please vote. Please vote. Let's see. Every time that I hear that somebody is doing 23andMe, I am flummoxed. Right? We're giving these huge corporations now our DNA, and they've been so responsible with all our other data. Like, I also, whenever a white person does it, I'm like, what are you looking for? What do you think you're gonna find? You know, like they'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm like 132nd Cherokee. Oh my gosh, I'm like 118th West African. Oh really? How do you think that happened? They didn't meet in college, you know, it's not a love story. My ancestors have been here like on this continent like kind of a long time, and that's already way more than I want to know. You know, like that's already too much information for me on a day-to-day basis to handle. Like I used to live in New York and I had this apartment that was infested with rats. Thank you so much. Mice. Please, mice. And like I would turn out the light to go to sleep and I'd hear rustling in the trash can, which is fine because a plastic bag can take, 3-4 hours to settle, no problem. And like, as long as you don't turn on the light, you don't have to have more information than that. You don't need to know that. So like with my ancestors, like, I'm not flipping on that light. I'm not lifting up that blanket. You just know they covered it in smallpox. Oh, wow. I did that joke once at a show, and a woman came up after me and was like, oh, wow. And this isn't a sexist voice. This was her real voice. She was like, oh, wow. No respect for our ancestors. And I was like, I mean, if my ancestors saw me up here talking into a stick that amplifies, they'd burn me as a witch, right? Like, we're not going to get along. Like, we're already not cool with each other, so to speak. Couple things about me. I just got these bangs. Thank you. Stop. I hate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I work in finance. But I'm not rich. So my job is alienating, but ultimately unrewarding. That's great. And most of my colleagues are, you know, exactly what you'd imagine dudes who work in finance are like, right? Vests, white. That's kind of it. Like, and most of our interactions are like, I got these bangs, and they were like, nice bangs. That's all. But there's one gay guy in the office, and so like we sort of function like a sea anemone clownfish relationship, right? We're symbiotic. We're keeping each other alive. And like day 1 goes by, I don't hear a thing about the bangs, right? Day 2, no comment on the bangs. So on day 3, I said, Nick, you haven't noticed my bangs. And he said, oh, I noticed your bangs. I just didn't know how you felt about that. So assaulted on the floor, basically. And so like, then he's like, okay, great. I don't want you just running around the office saying, Nick didn't notice my bangs, Nick didn't notice my bangs. And I was like, that's so insulting, right? Like, that's so insulting. I'm a professional. So a couple of minutes later, I'm talking to the president of the company, and I say, you know, Nick didn't notice my bangs. But that's okay, because you didn't notice them either. And he says, oh, I noticed your bangs. I just didn't want to sexually harass you. So I guess this is more PSA than comedy. If you notice someone's bangs, you can just say like, nice bangs. You don't have to say like, nice bangs, I'd love to have sex with them, or like, nice bangs, do they curl up when you scissor? Do you scissor? What's your deal there? Like, you don't have to do any of that. You can just say nice bangs. And like, there's probably a lesson in there about like fishing for compliments, but ooh, boring, let's move on. So I identify now as agnostic, but my mom raised me to be dramatic. Right? I have a Southern mom, and I didn't know growing up that everybody's mom didn't have a fainting couch in every room of the house for effect. That was something I learned later in college. My friend and I were home for Thanksgiving break, just hanging out in the kitchen. My mom wafts in, no one else is getting a breeze. And she's like, and she goes, hello, girls. My friend said, oh, hi, Mrs. Hunt. What are you gonna do today? And my mom, who is like that, you're never gonna see my mom head on, okay? You're gonna see her in profile. You might see her over the shoulder. I've never seen my mom head on. Okay? So she's like, well, I'm gonna go see a movie. And my friend, who has a normal mom, was like, oh, cool, what movie are you gonna see? And my mom was like, whatever I want. And then she ripped off her robes and she was a pile of magnolias on the floor. And I'm like, oh, Mom. Just how they are. You guys remember 9/11? Okay. I've never gotten a woo for 9/11 before, but yeah, sure. It's good you remember, otherwise it's so much explaining. So like right after 9/11, there was a big anthrax scare. You know, people were so sure they, as citizens, were just gonna be like sent anthrax as though we just like give our good drugs out to people. And my mom was like, well, you are especially vulnerable to this because you have asthma. I don't think the Taliban knows that, but like there's no way to prove that. Neither of us works for Homeland Security. So eventually I do get a cold and my mom says, it's anthrax. And I say, I don't think it's anthrax. And she said, get in the car. So we go to the doctor and the doctor says, okay, so just so you know, the test for anthrax is to stick a needle into your soft palate. And I said, I don't want to do that. And he said, I don't want to do that to you. And my mom said, prepare the syringe! Okay, so cut to a few years ago. This is modern times, right? My mom texts me. She texts in all italics. We don't know how she's doing it. But she texts, Amanda, there has been a measles outbreak in Williamsburg and you are not probably in it! And I was like, okay, I'll go to the doctor, I guess. Like, I go to the doctor and I'm like, my mom thinks I'm vulnerable to measles. No, my mom thinks I'm vulnerable to measles. And the doctor goes, oh, yeah, you should get another shot. Not a joke there, because the world, okay, so my mom, she hasn't changed one single bit, right? She's the same. The world has reduced so much. It's turned her into a pragmatist. She was part of the COVID vaccine trial. You know, she's turned into a hero. We gotta get ourselves together. Thank you guys so much. I'm Amanda Hunt.